That time I got reincarnated as a slime. Season 3 is now over, and we get to talk about the season. Well, because it was pretty much that time I got reincarnated into a meeting. I know this has been a big joke going on with this season, but I honestly really like this season. It did a great job setting up a lot of the lore, a lot of the details that we need to build this world out and really set up the political standpoints where Rimuru stands and the rest of the nation. Especially after the last 2 seasons where Rimuru has been building his nation, gets attacked by Falmuth, and then just everything going to shit for Falmuth because Rimuru wipes them out in an instant for messing with his friends. So, loved how they set that up last season just to have him become a demon lord, for this season to be the real main standpoint of his nation becoming a true nation, and announcing to everyone that he is a demon lord. And pretty much the season was all setting up the new allies, the nation of Tempest, their advancements, and the new enemies that'll be coming forward to deal with them. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the different plot points that went on during this season. And because there's kind of a lot of stuff that were intermingled with one another, we'll kind of go from plot point to plot point. We'll talk about Falmuth and what their nation became, the Holy Knights and the 7 Luminaries, the 5 Elders and the Razos, the other nation, Tempest growing and advancing, and I feel like I'm just going to keep rambling on here, but I think you get the gist. We're going to be talking about all these characters, and there's a lot of information to break down, so of course, with that, we're going to be starting off with just Falmuth and what's been going on with them. And that's because Falmuth and the Holy Knights were the beginning of the season, so it makes sense to talk about both of them at the same time. Because the season starts off with Diablo being sent to Falmuth to give him 3 options. Either they continue the war, they let the Rimuru Tempest Federation be the superior state, or they get rid of the king and pay Tempest 10k stellar gold coins. And I love how their sneaky little plan is all in the end of the day to get Yom to be the one to take over their country so that they could have a cooperative nation and an ally. And it's wild to see that Shion turned the captives into some really gross food creatures with Razin, King, and the Archbishop. And we know that the Archbishop gets sent to Lubelius, but we'll talk about that in a bit because that has more to do with the Holy Knights and the 7 Luminaries than it does with Falmuth. But honestly, that whole plotline kind of resolved really quickly where people were arguing with them, they didn't want to do it, and then they ended up abdicating, which is all falling into place for Diablo because his plan is to have Falmuth fall into a civil war. That way it's easier to take over. And it all goes to according to plan, because these simpletons don't really know who they're messing with. The new King Edward is not going to pay Rimuru. He gets mercenaries, drafts civilians, and starts a civil war. It just all falls into place so quickly. And I like how it goes to Damrida, who's scheming in Falmuth, knowing Raisin is loyal to Diablo, but he thought that Rimuru would abandon Yom, and he's so wrong. And I love how it ties back to the 5 Elders, which we'll talk about in a bit. But it's just another plot point that intermingles with what's really going on. The 7 Luminaries and the 5 Elders were scheming with all of them, because then Glenda from the Holy Knights gave Edward the orb that showed Rayheim's death, making it look like Diablo who did it. So all these intermingled plot points over all the episodes that started this season just all intertwined, and that's where I'm finding it harder to talk about because everything kind of takes place after the other, and it's hard to talk about it in, I feel, a cohesive kind of way. But I do like how they set all this up, because with all these little intermingled plot points, it just kept setting up the stakes and what's really going on, and also giving us some pretty badass moments with Diablo. When they try to take him down, they literally stand no chance, and Diablo just obliterates them, because his aura is just way too strong. And it's interesting to see how the Holy Knights got involved with Saray, because he joins the fight against Diablo thinking that Diablo is this really evil person. And I mean, they know who he is. He's a primordial demon. They want to go after him. They don't trust him, which is understandable. Diablo is already, doing his own thing. He already has his own plan. So it's wild to see how Diablo literally takes 0 damage from anyone. It really shows you he's at a different level from everyone else. And this is also the moment when we learn that he's a Demon Lord, a legendary being who surpasses Demon Lords, which is actually really cool, which are only achieved by the most powerful archdemons, which we knew Diablo was an archdemon to begin with. So just interesting to see where his power is. And I'm guessing when Rimuru gave him his name is when he upgraded to this new level. So I love how they set this all up, because then again, it just ends to Yom and it being the leader of Falmuth in the end and renaming it to Fall Menace. So all Diablo's plans came to fruition. He got what he wanted, they started a civil war, and in the end, Yom still became king. So I love how they made these simpletons kind of fall for them. You had the other scheming groups outside trying to change them and trying to manipulate things, but not actually succeeding in doing that. And then in the end of the day, Diablo outsmarted all of them. Because of this anime being a political anime and setting up all the different nations and kind of spying and conniving and trying to manipulate all of them with all these little mysterious groups, it really is setting up the stakes for like who we might have to go against. because it might not be someone we have to fight one-on-one. It's more of like taking on these people who are trying to do things from behind the scenes. But that was pretty much the Falmouth storyline, and then we go into the Holy Knights and the Seven Luminaries, because this is where the conspiracies really get insane. Because that's when we learn that Hinata and the Holy Empire of Lubulis are in line with the Demon Lord Valentine. And it was really interesting to find out all the information about this like really quickly. Like, Luminous is their god. Hinata lost her and went into her service, and that the vampires aren't actually bad, but they only take a little bit of life energy to live on, just so they can protect their utopia. So it's like you see vampires in traditional media as like these evil villains, and here they're not that bad. They have a whole holy empire that follows them because they don't realize they're following vampires, but still pretty cool. And I like how they set up that Hinata let Rimuru escape after their first fight because she realized that he might not have been a bad person after all. Even though she was being manipulated and being used to go after him, she realized in her own free will that he wasn't bad. So I like how this sets her up because she's already kind of questioning the stuff she's heard about Rimuru. Not thinking that this guy's a bad guy, but thinking that he might be actually good. And I do like how they also set up the next great Tenma war with the angels coming. That was a big thing from the very beginning of this season. I was like, hey, what's going on? What kind of big war? We have angels coming, which, you know, we never got that this season, so that means it's coming. I don't know how many arcs it is away from where we're at currently, because I'm trying not to spoil myself, but I do like how they set all that up, because it's cool. Just a new adversary to go against. However, I do love how Luminous hates Veldora of passion, because of what Veldora did many years ago, because of his Storm Dragon days of wrecking towns and being an actual enemy, and that's the only reason Rimuru is seen as an enemy right now, because of that. So I do like how they set that up, because it just led into really fun moments later down the road with Luminous going after Veldora and getting her revenge. Even though it was like in the most memeable way possible, it was fun to see how they did it. And honestly, and that was pretty much the quick intro to Luminous and Lubelius. And honestly, if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I'm sorry. But we're going to go into Hinata and the 10 Saints now, because I thought that was going to lead into, honestly, a way bigger fight than it actually did. Because when we started off meeting them, they talked about Rimuru meddling with Falmouth. They knew about Veldora and him being pacified, but they do see he's actually trying to have peace with humans. So it's kind of cool to see the kind of different prospects. They see this monster who's creating a nation of monsters, but he's not necessarily evil because he doesn't seem to be doing anything in the wrong way. But because he is meddling with things, you gotta be a little wary of. But it kind of set up also how smart Hinata was during this moment, because he also sees that the merchants might be messing with things, since she was the one that attacked Rimuru on the words of a merchant, and she's doubting her actions because of it. She knows she was manipulated, and they kind of show this throughout the whole season, that Hinata's smarter than you really think she is, because she kind of pieces stuff together a little bit easier than some of the other characters. And I do like how it all started off with Hinata. Her plan was to go talk to Rimuru herself. That was the whole plan at the beginning of the season, until the Archbishop showed up and tells her about what happened in Falmouth and how Rimuru slaughtered them all, which he's not wrong. That he did do that, and he did awaken because of that, but it was all a setup for the 7 luminaries to appear, and they knew that the Archbishop had an orb sent from Rimuru, which the moment we got the orb shown was clearly altered. Like, it was no joke, because there's no way Rimuru sent a threat to them. He just wanted to talk. That was his whole goal, and we all knew that. And as an audience, we already knew something was suspicious, because they set up this little tease that the 7 luminaries are a little shady. Especially because they pushed Hinata after Veldora, giving her a Dragon Slayer sword, just getting her over there to do it, and then the Archbishop was murdered right after. Because, you know, there's only bits and pieces you can see that are not suspicious at all. Pretty much the 7 luminaries showing up, and everything they did from that point on was suspicious. And I do like how they set that up, because it made you as an audience member really question what was going on, but also hoping for their downfall. At least that was me. I was hoping for their downfall from the very moment we saw them. Especially because they sent Reinhardt after Rimuru after, putting Hinata in a kind of a bad spotlight with her own men, saying that Demon Lord Valentine and Hinata were connected, which means she's just going to go over there and ally herself with Rimuru and betray the church. So they were really setting her up as a bad guy. Again, more suspicious stuff to make the 7 luminaries be suspicious. But however, I do like how it ended up leading us to giving us some of the little bit of action we got this season. The Holy Knights going after Rimuru's group and Shion's group, taking them on, and actually being super OP because of their skills that pretty much resurrect them. And I like how they set that up, because after they were killed by Falmouth, now they can stand back up and be almost unkillable, which is pretty cool. You know, they were weak at one point, but no, not anymore. It was great to get during that fight as well, the Rimuru versus Hinata fight, the rematch, which they're going all out, and it really shows you how strong both of them are. I mean, this is also after Rimuru has awakened to become a Demon Lord, so it adds even more skill to him. Even unlocking a new skill mid-fight by watching her moves and getting predict future attacks. So after Raphael analyzed her, being able to get a new skill easily, making him even more OP. That's the one thing. Rimuru just keeps getting skill after skill after skill that keeps making him more and more and more OP. Even having Rimuru sacrifice his skill, Beelzebub, to survive Hinata's attack. And I love how it set that up. And I totally thought after that, he lost that skill. He gave up one of his OP skills, but he ended up keeping it in the end, which just shows again how strong Rimuru is and how much he's really progressed over these seasons. And I do like how during the entire fight as well, he was kind of confused why Hinata would come and attack him, because literally all he wanted to do was talk. And then we learned half his message got cut out. So leading into some really big shocking moments, because right after, when he survives Hinata's attack, the Dragon Slayer sword starts acting on his own and tries to take him out, which is obviously the 7 luminaries trying to take him out, and then Hinata takes a hit instead. Just really good moments to show that the 7 days, they're not to be trusted. You know, Hinata is now going to be taking control of everything because of what the 7 luminaries did after they went to try to take him out there, and also with them trying to take out the reporters with Diablo there. But honestly, just for the 7 days to get obliterated by everyone. First of all, they really did try to manipulate things. They act as one of the knights and stab Renard. They try to take out Rimuru with their overpowered attacks. Xion being OP, literally bending reality to her will to take them out. And then Luminous coming in, executing the 7 days and resurrecting Hinata. And then Diablo crumpling up the rest of the 7 days into a piece of paper. So like these moments right here just show who we're going against. These 7 luminaries who think they can control everything, do whatever they want, literally get taken out one by one by everyone else who's way more powerful than them. So I do like how they set it up, especially with one of the 7 days going into the Ronzo family. I am still confused about that just a little bit, where we'll talk about that now, because the 7 days plan failed. And then we lead into the Ronzo family, their spies, and the 5 elders. Because the 5 elders were secretly controlling the Council of the West, which we'll talk about at the end of this video, because the Council of the West is coming into play next season because of the letter Rimuru got from the Council of the West at the end of the season. But one of the 5 elders was one of the 7 luminaries with, I'm guessing, his soul sent to his body. That was kind of the part I was confused about, because he was there and then he realized his plan failed. The 7 luminary got taken out, so I guess his soul went back to his original body or something along those lines. But it shows just how one of the Razos had little take into controlling the church and the Holy Knights. So that's one faction right there being controlled that is now taken out, and now they no longer have control of that because Hinata will now be taking control of all that. So cool to see how the kind of the lines are changing. It's like a butterfly effect where one thing gets taken out, now it's taken over by someone else. The next thing gets taken out, and so else, and the 5 elders are slowly losing control, and it's all because of Rimuru. It's because that's when we have Damadra trying not to make an enemy out of Rimuru himself, but he still wanted to keep a relationship with the 5 elders, even though the Razo family is pissed off at what he did, because they were used, and they don't want Tempest becoming an economic hub, showing that Damadra is probably getting screwed at some point, like he's not making out of there. But that's also where we learned that, you know, Glenn has been working with the Razo family, and the Razo family is trying to help Falmouth keep control of itself. At the end of the season, you had Maribel being greed and wanting Tempest, and is setting them up as the next big bads. Pretty much having the secret society behind the scenes trying to control everything, and that's their whole family. And I feel like we're only at like the tip of the iceberg for what their characters are and what they represent, because we only saw some of it, where the next season will probably be focusing on them after that ending for this season, focusing on these characters, trying to take out Rimuru or work with him so that they can control his nation in secrecy. But honestly, I don't think they realize how many characters Rimuru has with him that are stealthy, that are good at collecting information, and that are good at detecting lies. So I don't think it's going to be as easy as they think. And you know, I want to take a quick moment to say, if you're enjoying this video, make sure to like and subscribe button. Helps out the channel a lot. And please let me know, out of all the stuff I've talked about so far, what do you think of these plot lines? Anything I missed that we need to add a little bit more detail to? Now, when we get into more of the political standpoints of some of the other nations and the people we get to meet, there is just so much going on. Like when we finally meet Elmesia from the Sorceress Dynasty of Sarion, and I really liked her character when we first met her because she already seems super smart. The fact that Arrow was trying to hide stuff from her and that he's been going into Tempest without inviting her and she's mad at him for it, like I found that as a very fun time, kind of showing where her character stands, where she's more like, I want to go meet these cool nations. I want to go meet these guys. So she decides that she wants to go to the festival that the Nation of Tempest is holding. And I do like how she already is starting to think about how they can make money working together with Tempest. Especially with Rimuru building roads everywhere. It's really setting up like, okay, if we work with these guys, we'll have trade routes, we'll have all this. Like, it'll be easy to transport, they'll be protected. And it makes sense to make allies with this nation who's trying to make the world a better place. Even showing that she already knows that he's an otherworlder and that he's powerful, so they need to attend, so that they can be on the good side and kind of see who this guy is for her own eyes. And I like how they set her up. And then we have King Gazel from Dwargon, who comes in, and I love when he's there. He's just getting mad at Rimuru for not telling him stuff sooner, because he's like, dude, we're on the same page. What the hell? But he's still on Rimuru's side and is working with him to get stuff done. And I really like that. I've liked his character since we met him, so it's really interesting to see him more kind of buddy-buddy with Rimuru as they go forward in this world. When we first see Bloomin with Hinata's group traveling through it, where they're realizing that it's prospering and in good shape ever since Rimuru kind of intervened with their town. You know, he literally brings ramen to this world. And on the way through the town and towards Tempest, he has maintained roads, campgrounds, lodges, watering holes. He's doing a great job having these other nations be, like, successful. And Bloomin's a great example of that. Especially saying that it's going to be the distribution hub. That's also a great way to show that this small little town that most people would look away from is going to prosper because of this. And then we have Falmouth, which is Falmouth because of Yom. I feel like we don't need to talk much about that one because we talked about it at the beginning of this video. But then we have Lubelius, however we pronounce it. Again, I feel like I'm pronouncing that wrong. And I do like how we have Demon Lord Valentine, aka Luminous there, showing she wants to have peace negotiations with Rimuru. Then that her empire will also declare relations with Tempest, and that the Dwarven Kingdom is a human kingdom. Already showing what kind of influence Rimuru has, having her see the Dwarven Kingdom as a human kingdom so that they're not seen as monsters either, and that Tempest will also be in relation with them. They can have a peaceful alliance. Because the Holy Empire of Lubelius is really focused on, like, if you're human or a monster, to see other races who aren't human as monsters. Really setting up that the relations with Tempest and the Dwarven Kingdom are going to kind of change the way the world works in a way where other people are going to be less seen as a monster and more seen as human. And that just all leads into the fact that we get into the Tempest as a growing nation, making their allies with all these other nations and advancing and then having a fun festival. So I really like how, you know, we had all these kind of different things set up this season, and now we got to see just Tempest grow a lot during it. Like, I love the first advancement about the anti-magic barriers they're setting up to protect people along their pathways. They're thinking ahead. They're making a way for people to travel between towns without being hurt or being scared that a monster might attack them, and using the magic kills in the atmosphere to fuel, which is great. It just means that the distribution routes are going to be easier and easier to go by without people attacking them. Which, like I said before, with the Hinata going through the towns part, we have lodges, we have watering holes, we have campsites, like places that people can live. So they've advanced so much so far. Later in the season, we had Rimuru getting drunk and just spilling all the state secrets. Like him wanting to recreate stuff from his world, like manga. Getting rid of the threat of monsters entirely. Having Yom take over the new nation and becoming influential within the western provinces. Having Tempest as a human nation. And the fact that he's using communication crystals to be able to speak with people across long distances like telephone poles. And it's just really awesome to see how he's trying to advance this place. And he's just telling Hinata all this stuff while he's drunk. But I do love how it kind of sets up Rimuru where he trusts some people really quickly. Like, he trusts Hinata fairly quickly, and I really like that. Because I think the fact that she's an otherworlder is also a reason for him to trust her, and how they kind of realize that Yuki is behind some of this stuff, and they can agree on that, and that they can be trustful allies. And the one thing I really do like about this anime too is how all Rimuru's friends want to live in Tempest. Like having Romulus trying to move herself forcibly in as she slowly makes her way there. And then Rimuru just ended up giving her home anyways. Like, she tried to force herself in, but Rimuru's like, wait, nah, I'm going to let you come in. I just want you to build a labyrinth under our Colosseum. And the Colosseum is already a great idea to begin with, because you got a place where you can have adventurers fight and make money, have some shows go on, and the fact that they're going to have a labyrinth underneath as well for adventurers to go fight monsters so they can make more money. Like, Rimuru is thinking of these absolute gold mines of a way to make profit, and it's awesome to see. But I also like how he's thinking not just money-wise, where he's also thinking the labyrinth could be a great way to be an evacuation shelter if something bad was to happen to Tempest, so they could quickly get people there. Even moving the lycanthropes down there and literally creating a world that looks like the surface world in the labyrinth. Like, I thought that was really cool. Rimuru thinking about those refugees and bringing them to a place that they could survive and have a place to live without his nation taking over the entire forest. But it also shows how powerful Romulus is. Like, this girl's able to just teleport them without an issue. She moved the entire section of that town down there. And again, it has a sky. She made 100 floors of the labyrinth with rotating parts to make it different each time. Veldor is the king of the labyrinth to have his magical spawn monsters. Romulus makes revive bands so that if you die in there, you literally come back. So I thought that was awesome, showing her power, because she's super powerful, and I've heard everyone tell me she was even more powerful before she had this form. So I can only imagine what kind of person Romulus would have been to mess with back when she was even more powerful. Because right now she's just like a cute little fairy that yells and has a lot of fun. So I just can't imagine her being a super powerful being. But honestly, I would love to see it one day. And I do like how Malim was jealous of Romulus getting to live in Tempest, because she wants to live with Rimuru, her bestie, and it was just a lot of fun to also have her that she's gonna be getting some ice and fire dragons. We didn't really get to see that this season, so I'm hoping that we will eventually. So I did see someone mention that we'll get to see way more of the labyrinth at some point, and I'm excited for that. And I also like, speaking of labyrinth, that Rimuru let the Dryads go live down there under Ramirez's rule, because he's like, I don't really care about being a ruler. You can go live under Ramirez. It's all good. So just showing how he's kind of a caring ruler, but also the fact that he doesn't really want to be one. Especially when we see him when the festival starts, and he's announcing his country to the world, and also just showing how he's the leader, just a slime with a crown on. It's like, it's a really fun moment to show that he doesn't really want to be there giving those speeches, but he kind of has to have his nation become a full-on nation. And I do love how he's like, don't mess with us or we'll come for you. So he's being kind, he's being happy, but he's also like, don't fuck with us. And I do like that, because we saw what happened to Falmuth when that happened, and Rimuru is already a really powerful nation, so it's gonna be cool to see what happens, because he also just wants to gain their trust. He wants to get more workers, and he wants everyone to be free. He just wants people to live how they want, and without fear of discrimination and hatred and killings. He just wants to make this cool world, which I think will make people want to come to this nation, is because you can have fun. There's a lot of different activities you can do in the town. You just put in some work and, be a mutual person in this community, and you can have a great life. So I do love what they're doing. And the beginning of the festival was great, with the monsters and humans working together to pull off a beautiful orchestra, with Shion and Shuno blowing everyone's minds with their performance, really showing that music brings people together. And then we had the new research being shown for the magicals and how they work. The fact that they had the one herb that does not exist without magicals, because it's just a basic weed if there aren't any in it, really showing how much magicals really affect this world, and how it's kind of weird that people haven't really researched into this as much. Like, magical items can be healed. That's wild to find out you can pour a healing potion on your sword to fix it. It really shows the advancements that will be coming from this nation. And I love how Lumineth turns around to Rimuru during the beginning of the festival too. It's like, hey, I want to have a culture exchange so that Rimuru can learn Faith and Grace, which allows him and his followers to gain more power. And Lumineth will send people to study with him so that their country can prosper from some of this advancement, as well as Rimuru getting more powerful as well. Honestly, some of my favorite episodes out of this season were probably the tournament stuff, because I really liked the action, but I also just liked the fun moments during it. Because the tournament was great. It was a little short, though. I felt like it should have been a little longer. It was cool to see Bovix and Equix kind of go into a fight. The Minotaur and the Horseman, who go and charge into the battle, literally cutting each other up, and just so that they can prove their strength. However, I was not expecting Bovix to win and then lose directly to Masayuki, by Masayuki just being like, yeah, we don't need to fight. We can fight in the dungeon when you're at your true strength. Like, come on, dude. Trying to show your power, being the Elite Four, and you just gave up just like that. And then Gobta versus Guy. I love it because the guy just underestimated Gobta like no tomorrow, and Ranga came out and just proved his strength and knocked it out with one shot. Loved it. Carrion versus Geld was an awesome fight as well, because it's just a respectful match between two guys putting in their all and having a respectful match. Like, that was really awesome, just watching them care about each other and have a really great match between two honorable people. And then Gobta versus Carrion was unexpected. The fact that Gobta is showing how far he can think ahead, using Ranga, working well together, and literally making Carrion surrender so he can't have his identity shown. And it really makes me wonder what they were thinking. Like, if Carrion won that whole fight and became one of the Elite Four, how would that work? Would that just be him not being Malim's subordinate anymore and actually being Rimuru's subordinate instead? But that all led into the big battle we were waiting for, Masayuki versus Gobta, which honestly was a letdown, but was hilarious. And that's what made it great, which is how funny it was. With Gobta and Ranga transforming, getting this really awesome move while they're about to go in, and they completely miss Masayuki and get knocked out. And then Masayuki forfeiting was even more hilarious, just because he doesn't want to face Rimuru. Because he was either becoming the Elite Four or face the Demon Lord. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna die if I go against him. I ain't doing that. So I do love that Gobta ends up winning in the end, being one of the Elite Four, because I was hoping from the very beginning that would happen, and it did. And I love that he's now part of the Elite Four with Benimaru, Shion, and Diablo. Like, he really has no place being there, but it is kind of funny to see him there, because I love Gobta. So Gobta being there is just going to be so much fun. But now he's getting trained by Malim, so he's probably going to come back stronger next season when we see him again. And we'll be talking more about Masayuki in a bit, because I saved that for just the new allies section, because I feel like he just needs his own little section to talk about this new character as well. But then we went to the dungeon, which was a huge success. I love the labyrinth. It was really cool. Again, I kind of wish we saw a little bit more, but I have heard that there's supposed to be a lot more to it later on. And I do like how we have Erin's group going in, and Ramirez fed her all the details about the dungeon, so they're able to make it through with no problem, because they pretty much cheated. But Masayuki also cheated, because Rimuru gave him information as well, just so that he could get through the floors a little faster, and that they could show off the dungeon and have everyone love Masayuki also see the dungeon as well. Pretty good tool to use Masayuki as their spokesperson in order to have him kind of hype up the adventurers to come and use it. I am surprised though that they took out the spider in one shot. I feel like they need to upgrade their monsters just a little bit if that was way too easy for them. But to be fair, the lightning group lost everything and kept failing over and over again, so I guess normal adventurers who aren't OP will have a harder time through this than some of our other OP characters. And then you had Guy, who Rimuru hates because he's so full of himself, and the fact that he gets his ass whooped by a dryad for breaking the rule was the best part of the labyrinth part. Like, literally having him get his head cut off because he wasn't listening to what the rules were, and he's gonna come back. I feel like he's gonna be one of those, like, meme characters that'll come back, Rimuru will kick his ass, he'll run away, come back, get his ass kicked, go away, and so on, until he realizes maybe Rimuru is not that bad of a guy. And I like how it also led into the part where Romulus needs to take out a bunch of the pitfalls because there's way too many. Just like hilarious moments to have in these dungeons, and that's what I think this anime also does really well, is having these funny moments while also giving us like great world building and lore detail, because it just adds so much to the characters in their own. But yeah, that was the festival stuff. I feel like I really glossed over some of it, but it definitely was just like fun moments during it, having a really cool break from some of the political stuff while also having it still in there, but just not as to the extent of some of the earlier episodes, and just having a good time while everyone enjoyed a fun festival. And honestly, I'm always down for a fun festival arc where we get to have just seeing our characters laugh and joke around. But because we got past that part, let's get into Yuki, the character I've been waiting to talk about, because everything kind of happened at the end of the season there, and there's a lot to go over. And with Yuki, we're gonna have to start off from the very beginning of the season, because we have Yuki saddened by Clayman's death, and that now they're gonna be going after Rimuru. Pretty much just setting up how he's gonna be a threat for killing Clayman, and the fact that Yuki is not really happy what he did, but he's gonna put on appearances. Because that's pretty much what happened this entire season, is he was putting on appearances, being friendly, having a good time, being at the festival, having some food, enjoying the otherworld food that Rimuru brought here. At the end of the day, he was hoping that Hinata would take out Rimuru, and that didn't end up happening. And I love how they set up Orthrus, where he doesn't want to have to deal with it, so he gets Masayuki to take down the slave traders instead, which that was hilarious to me, Masayuki that way, to have them investigating it, having a noble try to frame Masayuki just for them to destroy the whole organization and save the slaves. This is where we kind of get to see where Yuki uses people to his advantage. If he doesn't want to deal with something, he sent this hero to deal with it rather than himself. It makes me interested in what else he's planning, because we know Rimuru also went to go see Yuki, first of all, to invite him to the festival and get him to join it, but also tell him about the ruins in Clayman's territory and how he wants to learn more about this ancient civilization, which I think in its own is a big plot point that we didn't really dive much into, because we have an ancient civilization. We're telling Yuki and his followers about it. So that could set up a very big thing where maybe Rimuru wants to keep an eye on him, so he wants to see what he's up to, but also gave them the information about these ruins that they might actually want. There's only so much about the ruins we really talked about during the season, and I'm really excited to learn more, because that's just another plot point we didn't get to this season. We just set it up and then left. So we already know Yuki has a bunch of stuff, and Rimuru and Hinata are both onto them. We know he's trying to do something. We don't entirely know what his goals are yet, but Yuki is definitely being set up as like a main antagonist during the later seasons, and, you know, kind of keep your friends close but keep your enemies closer kind of deal. So I'm excited to see what they do with this character, because, you know, he always seems so friendly and nice, but we know there's something else dark and shady going on in the background. Now, when we talk about our enemies, we also gotta talk about our allies. Because like earlier I said, we have Elmesia now, and I like how she's gonna be an ally, because I love how she stepped in to help with the money problem. Like right away, she's already proving to be a good person and that she wants to help the nation. Now, when we talk about our other new allies, we got the Tengu people, which I was really interested in finding more about them because they have wings. And I like how they're already okay with being peaceful with the nation of Tempest, because they are angels who are incarnated into wolves. So setting up more of the angel stuff, and I feel like the Tengu people will probably play a bigger role when it comes to the angels that are coming. However, with them, the biggest surprise of everything was learning that they are tied to Hakuro's past. For him training and falling in love with Kade, and then having a daughter he never knew of, which is cool, because now he'll have a daughter to come here, train her, and also have a new son-in-law when it comes to Benimaru, because he wants Benimaru to marry his daughter, and now Benimaru is going to have two wives, or at least two wives fighting over him, Elbit and Momiji. So, Benimaru has all the women loving him, and I think it's going to be funny to see his character going forward dealing with this. But it was great to see Hakuro has a daughter, and he's going to be one hell of a dad, and I can't wait to see more of that as well. The character I've been waiting to talk about with Masayuki, the Lightspeed hero, aka another Otherworlder. And I love how when we got him introduced, showing how he has the unique skill Chosen One. So it really feels like the characters get their skills when they come to this world by thinking what do they want to do, what's kind of like their dream, or how do they feel, and they get given those choices. Like Rimuru wanted to come in and not be hurt, he didn't want to feel pain, and he got put as a slime, who then had a bunch of OP skills, where Masayuki got the Chosen Skill one, which pretty much inspires those around him and also causes lesser beings to be rendered immobile. You know, he got Kuro compensation, which normal attacks become critical hits. Heroic charm, which inspires those around him and puts them into the path of being a hero. And then heroic action, which people learn from his actions. So all his skills are to make people be a hero in the end. So I really like how that kind of sets his character up, and the fact that he's like also kind of scared of fighting, kind of terrified of what he's doing, and he's surprised he survived so far. And it's cool to see him staying in Tempest as well, because that means he'll be a cool ally and a new friend to Rimuru, and hopefully that means he doesn't have to be in any more danger. But also, his chosen one skill will probably come in handy when it comes to dealing with possible enemies and maybe getting people to see the right way rather than making them fight. So that'll be cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. And then we got Drago's sons, who made an appearance. And I almost forgot about these guys until right now, where they came in to have a fight, got their asses kicked by Shion, and now Shion would train them. And I'm actually surprised. We never saw them after they showed up. They showed up, got their asses kicked, and then we didn't see them again. So I guess we'll see more of them at some point, but Drago's son are new allies. They're strong. And I can't wait to see what happens from that. Just a demon lord kicking off his sons to go train with someone else so that he doesn't have to deal with them. Kind of funny. But it also kind of shows you how some of these characters work in this world and how they're seeing Rimuru right now. Because they know he's not like an evil person. They know he's friendly. So if they actually need someone to do something that's half a decent job, they'll just send whatever his way. Now that we've talked about the enemies and the new allies, we gotta talk about working together, because that's one of the biggest things from this season is how these characters work together. Like what I said earlier, with Elmesia showing up and offering her help and making an alliance with Rimuru because she wants to be involved in more festivals and what he's building with his country. And I do like that she brings up Diablo being a primordial demon and asking Rimuru if what will he do if he goes on a rampage, and Rimuru just being like, I'll take full responsibility and I'll stop him, which has her in disbelief, which I think is from her realizing that, okay, this guy's not so bad. Because most people were like, well, if he goes on a rampage, oh well, someone will have to deal with it. But Rimuru's like, nah, I'll stop him. He's just like a puppy dog. It's not a big deal. So I think it really made Elmesia shocked because she's not used to a leader like this. Maybe Rimuru aligns more with her than some of the other leaders, and maybe that's why they'll probably get along a little bit more. And I also like how she ended up giving him the details about the secret group dealing with the Western provinces, and how they put together that the merchants that were asking Rimuru for money and that they didn't trust him and all that were all set up to make Rimuru untrustworthy and for Rimuru to be in the debt of whoever comes and bails him out of this money problem. And I love how they work together to figure this out. Because then it all falls in place when at the very end of the festival, the merchants are asking for their money, and all of a sudden this guy, Muzi, is instigating everything. Because he was there by the Razo family to put Rimuru in his debt so that the Razo family could control him. So of course, because Elmesia and Gazel helped him out, that didn't actually happen. But I do like how it all set that up where it's like, yeah, we saw through your plan from the very beginning, so we're going to stop it. And also set it up with Rimuru telling them that they aren't allowed in his country anymore, because if they don't trust monsters, he can't trust them. But it also put the merchants on his side, because they're going to try to make amends and work together, because if they don't work with this nation, they're going to lose out on so much money, especially with them making alliances with other nations. Rimuru turns around and be like, hey, we shouldn't be working with these guys. They're not trustworthy. Then they're going to lose out on so much more money. So in the end, if they make friends with Rimuru and work with him rather than trying to scheme against him, in the long run, it's better for them. So I do like how they set that up, kind of pushing them away from the Razo family and pushing them into Rimuru's hands. Then we have Rimuru's plan to build a train in order to get supplies from nation to nation, setting up a really great way to distribute stuff, and the other nations are going to want to work with that because we have Blooming as a distribution hub, and all of his allied nations are going to prosper because of this. We even got the dungeon being upgraded as well from this, with now expanding with prize money, getting the guild looped in for adventures cards so that adventurers will come in and they can track their stats and all that. Then having the holy knights get looped in for training, setting up all the different factions that'll be able to benefit from the nation of Tempest. Even Hinata wanting to send a high priest to work there to work on their skills, and also at the same time Rimuru can learn holy magic for his skill Faith and Grave. Also his followers can learn some holy magic as well. So just a kind of a mutual beneficial partnership. And then we have the allied nations also going to be working together to find out information on the merchants and the Razo family, because they know they're up to something, and they're going to be on the lookout and share information if something suspicious comes up. So just setting up what's to come next season pretty much. And I do like at the end, after the nations all leave, Rimuru is already on to Yuki. He's going to be preparing for the eventual conflict since he figured out the Harley Quinn alliance could be working for him. So it's pretty cool to see what they set up, because now we're going to be talking about more setup for season 4. So pretty much in the seasons to come, we get the angels coming with the Great Tenma War. The Holy Church is going to be helping them fight that war.
and the Angels will most likely come after Tempest because of how they've developed. Because the Angels stop anyone who developed too far, and Rimuru is developing at a mass rate, so that means they're coming after them to kind of slow them down or probably stop. No idea what these Angels want, but if they're trying to stop any kind of advancements, maybe they're trying to keep people from learning the true secret of this world. Having the Razo family coming to take Tempest because Maribel wants it. Yuki wanting to take out Rimuru, which we learned the whole season that he has a plan. Rimuru's messing with too many things and he doesn't want that. Rimuru and the Council of West, they are inviting him. Now the next seasons to come is going to be really interesting as we learn more about the Razo family, what Yuki's up to, and kind of that conflict before the Angels. At least I feel like those are going to come before the Angels. It makes sense because they set those directly up this season and kind of the things that they want to stop. We got I feel like the Razo family is going to come first. They set those guys up heavily this season, especially at the end with Maribel saying that she wants Tempest. But I'm excited to see what kind of war is going to go on now, because it's not going to be like your typical war, I think, with fighting. It's going to be more stuff behind the scenes, kind of sending in spies, people to manufacture situations to make other people look like enemies. A lot of behind the scenes spycraft. At least that's how I'm feeling what's going to come. And I think it's going to be pretty cool. The way they set up the season was really political, setting up the Nation of Tempest. But now with the Nation of Tempest set up, it's going to be a lot more, do we want this nation around? How are we going to work with them? Or who are we going to take down? And how are we going to make new alliances? I feel like there's just a lot to come from this. And I mean, we could probably talk for days on days on days about how this is going to work. But I feel like I've rambled on enough for now. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what you guys thought about this season. What else we need to talk about. Because we'll discuss more in the comments for anything I've missed. And let me know which part of the season was your favorite. Thanks for watching, and please don't put any spoilers for the future in the comments, but I'm all down for theories. If you liked this video, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. It helps out the channel a lot, and you get to stay up to date with all my anime breakdowns, as well as my DC and Marvel breakdowns as well. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.